Hey y'all, what's going on? This is J Marie Booklet. So today I'm making a video about thinning patients' charts. So this is something that you won't necessarily do every day, but you will do it. So when I worked on the main floor, I mean, it happened, but it was like for patients who have been there for a long time. So when I worked on the main floor, we had patients who were just there. They didn't need ICU, but they couldn't go home. So they were basically living at the hospital because they had chronic issues. They maybe their insurance, they didn't have any insurance, and so they couldn't go to like a facility like a SNF or anything like that. They couldn't go anywhere because they needed long-term care, but maybe because their insurance or whatever, they couldn't leave the hospital, but they weren't critical where they needed to be in ICU. So they were just on the floor. And so those are the type of patients we had on the main floor. And they would be there for a long time. And so what we would do is we would thin the chart, the physical chart, because the chart was so big, like so thick, you couldn't even close it. And so we would have to thin the chart. And once we thin the chart, we would put that thin chart somewhere. So we did not put the thin chart with the chart. So like when a patient is discharged, you break down the chart, and so the paperwork can go to medical records. We didn't put the thin chart with that. Now they said we were supposed to, and we were supposed to send everything to medical records so it can be scanned into the system, but we never did that. I don't think anywhere I worked we did that. We always had a pile for thin charts and medical records. They were kept totally separate. Like, I don't even think medical records knew where that pile was. We never sent it. But like I said, some said we were supposed to, but we never did. And we had the medical records. Once the patient was discharged, we had all that, but the thin, we did not. We kept it in a certain spot, and then let's say the patient was able to transfer to another floor. Once we got the transfer orders, we would get the chart, and then we would go get all the thin charts and put them together and send them to the other floor with the patient. And so that's what we did, because a lot of what was in the thin chart was in the computer anyway. Now, some of it, like the Mars, I really didn't do it. I really didn't thin the charts because that's just what, I was busy. But I knew where it was. Like I just never really thin charts. It just wasn't something I really did. But we would pack it up and then send the thin chart with the chart and with the patient, and they would transfer to another floor. Now, when I went to the ICU, same thing, no different. We had a patient that was in the ICU for a while. They weren't well enough to go, to the step down unit. Then they would stay there. Like I said, I never really thinned the charts. I guess it was because night shift usually always did it, because it was just something to keep them busy. So we had a separate area. We kept it in a drawer, kept it separate from the medical records that was going down when the patient was discharged. We kept it in the drawer. And then when the patient was finally able to transfer to another unit, we would get the chart, and then we would get the medical records, and we would send it on. We would get the thin chart, and then we would send it on with the patient to the other floor. And then that huck had an area where they would keep it. And then once the patient was discharged from the hospital, then we would get the thin chart, and then we would break down the chart and then send it all to medical records. But like I said, a lot of the MARS, the medical record, medication administration record, the MAR, that was in the computer. So it really didn't need to go down to, that's why we kept it. We would take that out the chart. It really didn't need to go down just yet because the patient was still there. It's in the computer. Now, some of the stuff we tried not to take out the chart. So like, we didn't take out progress notes when the doctors were still writing progress notes. We didn't take that out. We left that there. But we would go back like a few weeks and take out the Mars to thin the chart. Sometimes they would take out, I want to say sometimes they would take out like test results. So like if a patient had an x-ray or whatever, because all that's in the computer. I tried not to, unless it was like I said, I really didn't break down the charts. I really didn't thin the charts. I tried not to, because, that was in the computer, but I still, was kind of about that. But it was some things you just don't take out the chart. You don't take out the progress notes when they used to write them. You don't take out like any DNRs or anything to do with case management. We ain't take none of that out. But all that's in the computer. The DNR, the paperwork might not have been, we will always keep the power attorney, things like that. We will always keep that on the chart. But there were some things that you would just take out because it wasn't really necessary for the chart. And then there were some things you just did not touch. But like I said, it's not really an issue now that hospitals are going electronic. Now the issue is so much electronic information. So I was starting to see that when we would go into a patient's chart, like on the computer, the electronic, it was so much that it was like exceeding the capacity. So like, I think they had like the system that we use, it had like a capacity of 500 orders, and these people had been there for a long time, that they were exceeding that. So the charge nurses, because I didn't touch anything, would have to go through, and because all the orders were still showing like active, even though they weren't active, like they were completed, but they had to make them gray, like shade them out, like, this is done. We can not necessarily delete it, because nothing's ever deleted, but it's not active and taking up space. It's there, but it's grayed out, so we know that it's done. Because like, I think the only thing I would touch if we had a lot, like if it exceeded capacity, I would discontinue the diet. So like, if a patient was on regular diet and they've been on regular diet for whatever, I would go back and discontinue those other orders, because for whatever reason, like if they were NPO like 2 weeks ago, it's still there. I mean, it's there, but it's I don't want to say it's discontinued, because, well, yeah, they were still showing active, but it was a way you can shade them and make them gray, like gray them out, so they're not taking up space. I'm trying to think, what do we call it? Because we changed the diet. So let's say they were NPO and then they went full liquid. It was still, I don't know. I don't want to say active, but it was still there in the way. And we had to go in. Now, that's the only thing I would touch in the computer, is completely gray that out. Just have it nice and gray. It wouldn't be showing as active anymore. I don't want to say active, but it was still there. It was still there instead of being grayed out. Now, that was the only thing I would touch, because I'm like, we need y'all. Can somebody go through and clear this, because it's taking up space. And but like the way, I guess it really didn't bother me too much, because I always put the orders in reverse, because I knew how the system worked. So it really didn't bother me, because I knew how to see the most recent orders. But that thing popped up on everybody, like that patient. That's how you know a patient had been there for a long time, because it will pop up and tell you that it's exceeding. They have so many orders that it's exceeding the capacity, and basically somebody need to go through and like discontinue a lot of stuff, like gray it out. And but that's what I was starting to see. Like, we did have patients, like I said, in the ICU, who they had thick charts, or they came from another floor. You know, they were on another floor, then they started going bad, and then they came to the ICU. Now they're there for a while. So we did have that. But like I said, for the most part, I didn't thin the charts. Someone else did. And one of the things that they used to do, and you should do too, is put a sticker on the chart. So to let everyone know that the chart has been thinned, on what day and by who. So like I said, night shift always did it. It was always the one girl always did it in ICU, and she would do it. And then, you know, that way if something were to come up, we knew to go in this drawer and get the rest of the chart. So especially like when they were transferring, or if someone was looking for a specific thing, we knew where it was because the chart was thin on this date, and we knew to go in the drawer and get it. So that's all I got for you, y'all. This is J. Marie, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.